From a Borussia Dortmund perspective, it's interesting what Mats Hummels had to say ahead of the game. He was talking about the season, saying I was furious because I was of the opinion that Borussia Dortmund shouldn't play like that against any opponent in the world. I felt insulted in my honour to stand on the pitch in that kit. So submissive, so inferior in football terms. I gave a lot of suggestions, really to everyone involved, just to try and play better football again. I went to the coach's office and we talked, with a clear opinion that we clearly have to improve in the forward play. It's clearly got better after the winter break. That's also down to the co-trainers Nuri Sahin and Sven Bender, who came in. Archie, what's going on?
A very good question. And I'll answer another question that's been asked to me a lot recently. Why is Mats Hummels not going to the Euros with Julian Nagelsmann's Germany? And this is the answer. Because he has a little bit too much to say and is more interested in promoting his own agenda over the club's 3 days before the Champions League final, and you come out and say this, and you tear down the coach as well for the style of play, who, as much as he is critical of it, it's worth saying that the more defensively that Borussia Dortmund have played, the more that Mats Hummels has shone. The more that they would go further up the pitch, the more it actually exposes him. So he's been somebody who's profited from this as well. It is a bizarre thing to do, but I wonder if the fact that it is well reported and well sourced from my information that he does not get on particularly well with Marco Reus. Marco Reus has been in the limelight. It's already announced that he's leaving. Had this wonderful send-off at Borussia Dortmund last weekend. I wonder if it's partly a little bit of, well, hang on, don't forget about me here. And the thing is, many Dortmund fans have said to me, the point that Hummels is making is right. The football hasn't been great this season. But why? Why, oh why, are you making it now? And it completes what has been a rocky build-up in terms of PR for Borussia Dortmund, having signed a new sponsoring deal with an arms manufacturer today, and also been linked with Mason Greenwood this week. Things are not looking particularly sharp on the PR point of view from Borussia Dortmund, and this thing with Mats Hummels on the football side of things is just really bizarre.
Yeah, it's interesting, Frank, the timing of this. As Archie says, 3 days before a Champions League final. Whether or not it needs to be said maybe is another debate, but it certainly doesn't need to be said now, does it?
No, of course not. I think it's like preparing a huge defeat and give already the excuses of it. And that's absolutely crazy. You have to get into the game with the confidence, the happiness, and the trust in what you are built and what you built during the season. And now he's just saying that the coach is not good enough, that he had to talk to him, that he needed the assistance to have a better tactic. That's insane. I mean, I have highly ranked Hummels as a player. He had a hard season, and we saw that during the Bundesliga. But in Champions League, as Archie said, when they had to defend, he was there against many clubs, and he played very well. But why he has to say that? I mean, it's like, yeah, shooting yourself in your own foot and not helping the team, because the atmosphere is important before. It's important before in the dressing room. Everybody has to stress that it's possible to get a miracle from that final, and he's not helping doing that.
I think he just tells you what he thinks of himself. Let's be honest.
What's that, Stephen?
Well, every man and his dog sitting here going, why is he doing this 3 days before? He'll be sitting right now going, what's the problem? And that's the problem.
Right, that he doesn't realise.
He doesn't realise what he's doing is causing problems before such a big game, and he just thinks that what he says is right. And because what he said might be right, but because he says it, that makes it definitely right.
Right.
Why should anybody have a problem? That's the problem.
Is anyone having a word with him at all? Are we beyond that?
No, I think it's beyond that. If this is the statement he's making 3 days before a Champions League final, he's tone deaf to any kind of advice.
What was
that? Any kind of advice. But to the point, if your two centre backs are Hummels and, God help us, Nicol, you have to be defensive. you don't have a choice but to play that way. So I don't understand. I don't understand the timing of the criticism for reasons that we just said, or the fact that he just is totally oblivious to his own kind of deficits as a defender. Don't get me wrong. In the last couple of rounds in the Champions League, he's been outstanding. But Dortmund have sat back, have played a little bit defensive, and he has allowed him to be the best version of himself. But you can't then criticize the thinking behind. We've got to protect centre backs who don't have the legs, don't have pace. That's just sensible tactics.
We'll say thank you very much to Archie. Have a lovely rest of your evening in London, Archie. What are you up to?
Oh, hanging out with producer Freddie.
Oh, go to Gab's house. Go to Gab's house. He'll be more than happy to entertain you.
Gab's up late.
Yeah, Gab's up late. Look, go round there. Bit posh round where Gab is, though. Might not let you in.
I'll wait with bated breath.
Thank you very much, Archie. Let's go on now to Gab's favourite part of the show, where we say lots of nice things about his best bud, Carlo Ancelotti. In a really good interview with The Times, Ancelotti doesn't really say much, does he, normally in interviews? He really seems to quite open up, saying, I had one system that I learned to AC Milan from Arrigo Sacchi. It was 4-4-2, and for this I refused to have Roberto Baggio at Parma because he wanted to play number 10. He was one of the best players in the world at the time, and I refused to have him because I just wanted to play with two strikers. Today I would say, Baggio, come to Parma and we'll arrange the situation. Instead, I told him, listen, Roberto, there's no space for you. It was a mistake. And I tried to change my idea when I went to Juventus. I had Zidane and he was number 10. Should I put him right or left? Impossible. Zidane is the most important player in my team and he has to be number 10 and I have to adapt. From there, I always took into account the characteristics of the players to build the system. And what a system he has built over the years, Gab. Really frank, really interesting, some of his comments here in The Times.
Yeah,
I look you, Frank Gab.
Sorry. Sorry, I heard Frank. Sorry, I don't know
You
why I
did when
heard
you
Frank.
said
Go
really
Gab,
frank,
go Gab.
to be fair. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll be
it's
frank.
right, it's what you said.
Those of us who've been...
Thank you.
Those of us who've been around Carlo Ancelotti are going to be familiar with these stories because he's told them all before. But it is remarkable. And, you know, when he mentions, you know, not wanting Roberto Baggio at Parma, he didn't just want him. He had a guy named Gianfranco Zola who he's like, oh, this guy's not good. You know, my strikers, Chiesa and Crespo, are better than him. What should I do with this guy? Well, he's literally dribbles past people. Let me put him on the wing. No, he doesn't do enough defending in wide areas. All right, screw this. I'm going to send him to Chelsea so he can go play with Frank Leboeuf. And then, of course, the rest, as they say, is history. So he's one of those guys who was extremely dogmatic, and he made the journey to becoming incredibly pragmatic. And, you know, this is why he understands the dogmatic managers. He understands the big idea managers, the ones who talk about philosophy and so on, who come in and say, no, we're always going to play a certain way. We're not going to worry about the opposition. He understands that because he was one of them. And he thrived as a player under one of them. And I think that is one of his strengths, along, of course, with the man management, the warmth, the honesty, and the ability to find new solutions, whether it's playing Valverde as a right winger or Camavinga as a left back, Tchouaméni at center back. There's been so many solutions that he's found over the years, and he quickly gets buy-in from players. Bellingham, another fine example of this, you know, turning him into a false 9 or number 10 when, you know, he was basically a much deeper lying center midfielder his entire career. You know, he can do that because I think he has a pretty unique vision of the game.
I imagine it's quite difficult as a coach, Stevie, to kind of not rip up the game plan, but kind of having to second guess yourself and actually think, well, maybe my system isn't the right system. And there must be managers that trip over themselves a lot because they think they're right. How difficult is it to come to the realisation, obviously, that Ancelotti did and continues to do?
Well, honestly, I think if you're so set in your ways that you're not going to take on board quality, then you're clearly not going to reach the top. And at the end of the day, if you're in a position where you can cherry pick the best players, that's a different ball game. But when you're given a set of players, you have to figure out what's going to work. Whether it's 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, whatever. You have to be open to what you have, to what you're going to mix, how you're going to make the cake with what you've got. And if you can do it the way this guy does it, the way Ancelotti does it, to the level that he does it, I mean, he gets the great players to be even better. He gets average players to produce incredible performances. But most of all, he puts a team together in different ways. And that's not easy. It's one thing to have your ideas how you want to play the game, but when something scuppers that, and you have to be able to turn round, particularly at a big club, and still get results, doing things that you would rather not do, and get everybody to believe in it, and then be at their best, that takes a special guy. And that's Ancelotti, a special guy.
We're seeing a lot of young managers at the moment, flavour of the month, who play X style. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to go out there. And this is, I will kind of die on my sword. Obviously, Ancelotti different to that. Yeah. And how much are these young guns kind of going to get caught out by that?
Well, I think that's fine. Young managers coming in with a style to make their own, and the teams kind of fit in around that. You also have to earn the kind of respect that Ancelotti has over the years, that he can make these changes. And I think one of the strengths that Carlo Ancelotti clearly exhibits as a manager is not only knowing what's best for his team in terms of formation or strategy, in best for his players as individuals, but recognizing the strengths and weaknesses of the opponent. And in the article, he spoke about that. He spoke about tactically how they set up against Manchester City in the previous round. Now, knowing Pep Guardiola's teams and City, how they play, and kind of setting up a little bit more pragmatically, understandable, you know. But then he also spoke about doing the exact same against De Zerbi's Shakhtar Donetsk, and how the game played out exactly as he envisioned. And again, being a little bit more pragmatic and letting them fall into their own trap. And I think that is a confidence in a manager that Ancelotti has himself as a manager, but more to the point, that his team have in him.
Yeah.
That nobody, if he says, listen, we're going to press high up, nobody questions it. If he says we're going to drop off deep and we're going to defend, nobody questions it. He says to Jude Bellingham, you go and play as a number 10, great. We concede a few goals from crosses against Atletico Madrid. I need to be more defensive, no problem. Those are things that come with time and understanding, and most importantly, especially at this level of the game, the respect of the players that are under your charge.
That's a great point, isn't it, Frank? If basically Ancelotti tells you to jump, you ask him how high.
I mean, the guy is a magician. What he does with the players, how he can increase the level of each players, how he can feel the game, how he can dictate something obvious now, but crazy at the time. You know, when he lost Benzema and he said Vinicius Junior cannot play as a 9, he wants to play on the side like Rodrigo. So I have Bellingham now. I'm gonna push him in the middle, and he's going to score goals. Nobody could have seen that. And he saw that. And when you know what somebody said, I don't know who said that, but he said, only stupid people don't change their mind. And he was able to do so at a time where he realized that he had to adapt to the player that he had. And now everybody says, yeah, a good coach is somebody who gets his squad and adapts to the player that he has. But at the time, nobody told him that. And he was able to do so and to be successful every club that he went in, and got the trust of the players and made them being better than they've never been. The guy is a legend. And I like the way that he say that, because it's like a service. It's like an advice to younger coaches who maybe are a little bit stubborn right now, thinking that only, as you say, one way of playing is good enough. No, it's not.
Yeah, this is your favourite segment ever, isn't it?
Hey, look, if you want, we can sit here and talk about all his flaws just to balance it out, all the times he screwed up. Bringing James Rodriguez to Everton. Boy, that was clever there, wasn't that, Carlo? And gee, why couldn't you win with Napoli when Spalletti came over and made it look so easy, shortly after you left? Even Gattuso, you don't particularly like, did a better job with Napoli. So yeah, we can go on. Hey, how about being 3-0 up at halftime and then screwing it up? We remember that one, don't we? Right?
This is taking a turn I wasn't expecting.
Less, right?
That hates Carlo.
God, what's happened? Has he not invited you to Vancouver this year?
No. I'm saying is, I don't want to be the guy who just says nice things about him, because you guys are already saying that. Nobody's perfect. He's made mistakes throughout his career. He's made egregious mistakes, not just the I don't want Baggio and Zola, but I think it's the way you learn from them. It's the way you react from them. And it's the way that you can continue growing, even now at his age, when he's well into his mid-60s now. He's a grandpop now, right? And yet he's still learning, he's still communicating, he's still managing to relate to much younger players. And before, when you guys were talking about company and the guys and young managers coming in, one of the reasons that's happening, you see that Maresca, Chelsea, and so on, is that a lot of clubs are kind of fed up with those managers who are like, oh, I'm the big boss, I've got the philosophy, let me pick all the players and so on, which might explain why Allegri's gone, why Mourinho's out of a job, why Conte's trying to get in through the back door, why Ten Hag might be out of a job. Ancelotti was never like that. All those years at Milan, he had phenomenal players, but he wasn't the one picking them. He was the one finding a way to make it all work. I'll give you another one, which I think probably some of his finest work. He had Andrea Pirlo, a very talented number 10. He couldn't fit him into the side because he had Rui Costa, who's even more talented. And Pirlo goes to him and says, hey, what if I play deeper? And he's like, how's that going to work? You're a little scrawny guy. You can't tackle. You don't run around. You get tired. And what happened? He worked out a system where Pirlo became a deep-lying playmaker and became one of the best deep-lying playmakers in the world. So it's that ability to go deal with the cards you're dealt and, again, making them add up to more than the sum of their parts.